It was one of those nights where the silence seemed to hold its breath. The kind where you can hear the ticking of the clock on your nightstand, each second stretching into infinity as you lie awake, staring at the ceiling, your thoughts racing like wild horses across an endless plain. I'd been trying to sleep for hours, but something kept me awake, a strange feeling, an anticipation of something I couldn't quite name. Outside, the moon hung full and bright, casting silver shadows through my half-drawn curtains, painting patterns on my bedroom floor that seemed to dance and sway with each passing cloud. I've always been a night owl, finding comfort in the quiet hours when the rest of the world sleeps. There's something magical about being awake when others dream, as if you're privy to secrets the daylight hours keep hidden. But that night felt different, charged with an energy I couldn't explain. Maybe it was the storm that had been threatening all day, the air heavy with humidity and the promise of rain. Or maybe it was something else entirely, something I wouldn't understand until later. Alex and I had been best friends since our sophomore year of college. 5 years of shared secrets, inside jokes, and the kind of comfortable silence that only comes with true friendship. We met in an English literature class, both reaching for the same dog-eared copy of The Great Gatsby in the university bookstore. Our fingers brushed, and I remember looking up into those eyes, deep brown with flecks of gold that caught the light, just so, and feeling something shift inside me. Not romance, not then, but recognition. A sense that this person would matter to me. And matter Alex did. Through breakups and makeups, through late-night study sessions and early morning coffee runs, through my parents' divorce and Alex's struggle with anxiety, we were each other's constants. The one unchanging element in a world that seemed determined to keep us off balance. Alex was straight, had always been straight, dating a series of girlfriends throughout college while I navigated my own relationships, some good, some disastrous, all ultimately temporary. But our friendship remained, solid as bedrock beneath the shifting sands of our romantic lives. When the knock came at midnight, I wasn't surprised, not really. Something in me had been waiting for it, though I couldn't have said why. 3 soft raps against my apartment door, hesitant but determined, the sound carrying through my quiet living room where I'd been half watching a documentary about deep-sea creatures, fascinated by the strange, luminescent beings that made their homes in darkness. I paused the TV, the frozen image of an anglerfish with its eerie light suspended on the screen as I made my way to the door. I didn't bother checking the peephole. At midnight, it could only be one person. Alex had a key, had always had a key, but never used it unless invited. It was a respect thing, a boundary we'd established early on. My apartment was my sanctuary, and Alex understood that better than anyone. I opened the door, and there Alex stood, framed in the doorway like a photograph I wanted to keep forever. Rain-damp hair curling slightly at the temples, leather jacket beaded with moisture, those eyes, those incredible eyes, looking somehow both lost and found at the same time. The hallway light created a halo effect, illuminating Alex from behind while leaving the face in shadow, giving the whole scene a dreamlike quality that made my breath catch. "Hey," Alex said, voice soft, almost uncertain. "I know it's late. I should have called. Since when do you need to call?" I replied, stepping back to invite Alex in. But to my surprise, Alex remained rooted in the doorway, one hand braced against the frame as if needing support. "Are you okay? Did something happen?" Let me explain why this moment matters so much. In the 5 years we'd known each other, I'd seen Alex in every possible state. Euphoric after acing a difficult exam, devastated after a particularly bad breakup, silly drunk on cheap wine, serious and focused when helping me through my own crises. But I'd never seen this particular expression before, a vulnerability mixed with determination that made my heart race with concern and something else I wasn't ready to name. "I've been driving around for hours," Alex admitted, still not moving from the doorway. I kept telling myself to go home, that this could wait until morning, but I couldn't. I couldn't wait anymore. The hallway behind Alex was empty, the building quiet save for the distant hum of the ancient elevator and the soft patter of rain against the windows at the end of the corridor. Time seemed suspended, the world narrowed to just this moment, just this doorway, just us. I remember thinking about all the thresholds Alex and I had crossed together over the years. The doorway to our first apartment as roommates junior year, the graduation stage we'd walked across one after the other, the hospital entrance when Alex's mom had her cancer scare, the gateway to the botanical gardens where we'd spent countless Sunday afternoons talking about everything and nothing. Doorways were transitions, boundaries between one state and another, and something told me that whatever was happening now, whatever had brought Alex to my door at midnight, was another threshold we were about to cross. "Come in," I said again, more gently this time. "Whatever it is, we can figure it out together. We always do." But Alex shook the head, raindrops flying from the damp hair. "If I come in, I'm afraid I'll lose my nerve. I need to say this here, where I can still run if I have to." The word sent a chill through me. Run? In all our years of friendship, through all our disagreements and difficult conversations, neither of us had ever run from the other. We faced things head-on, together. That was our way. The fact that Alex was even considering running told me that whatever was coming was bigger than anything we'd faced before. "You're scaring me," I admitted, wrapping my arms around myself, suddenly aware that I was wearing only a thin t-shirt and pajama shorts, my feet bare against the cool hardwood of my apartment floor. "Just tell me what's wrong. Is it your mom? Did something happen with Janie?" Janie was Alex's latest girlfriend, a kindergarten teacher with a laugh like sunshine and a collection of quirky earrings that Alex found endlessly charming. "Janie and I broke up," Alex said, and there was a finality in the words that caught me off guard. They had seemed so happy, so well-matched. Just last weekend, the three of us had gone hiking, and I'd watched them together, feeling that familiar pang of envy. Not for either of them specifically, but for what they shared, the easy affection, the casual touches, the inside jokes. "I'm so sorry," I said, meaning it despite that tiny, shameful part of me that wasn't sorry at all. "What happened? Do you want to talk about it? I have ice cream in the freezer and that terrible vodka you like." A small smile flickered across Alex's face, there and gone like lightning. It wasn't her fault. It wasn't anyone's fault, really. She figured something out before I did. Something I've been avoiding for a long time. The rain was falling harder now, the sound of it a steady drumbeat against the building, a counterpoint to the racing of my heart. Alex still hadn't moved from the doorway, still stood with one hand braced against the frame, as if needing its support to remain upright. "Janie said I talk about you too much," Alex continued, voice dropping so low I had to lean forward to hear it. "She said she couldn't compete with a ghost." "A ghost?" I repeated, confused. "What does that mean?" "Not a literal ghost. A feeling. A possibility." Alex took a deep breath, and I watched the rise and fall of that chest, the way the rain-damp t-shirt clung to shoulders I'd leaned on countless times. "She said she couldn't be with someone who was in love with someone else." The words hung in the air between us, heavy with implication. I felt lightheaded suddenly, as if all the oxygen had been sucked from the hallway, from my lungs, from the world itself. Because I knew, in that moment, with a certainty that terrified me, exactly what Alex was saying, and I wasn't ready for it. Had never allowed myself to be ready for it. "Alex," I started, but my voice failed me. What could I say? How could I respond to words that hadn't actually been spoken, to a confession that hung in the air like mist, visible but insubstantial, something I could still pretend not to see if I tried hard enough? "I've been driving around all night," Alex repeated, "trying to figure out if I should come here, if I should tell you. Trying to decide if it's worth risking everything we have for something that might not even be real. Because what if Janie's wrong? What if I'm just confused? What if I tell you and you hate me? Or worse, you pity me? What if I destroy the best friendship I've ever had because I can't tell the difference between love and whatever this is?" I remember thinking about all the moments over the years that suddenly made sense in this new light. The way Alex always sat a little too close to me at movies, our shoulders touching even when there was plenty of room. The way Alex remembered every detail of stories I told, even ones I'd forgotten myself. The way Alex looked at me sometimes when we were with other people, as if checking to make sure I was still there, still real. And I thought about my own feelings, the ones I'd buried so deep I'd almost convinced myself they didn't exist. The jealousy I felt every time Alex started dating someone new. The way my day got brighter when I received a text, even if it was just about something mundane. The dreams I'd had, the ones I dismissed in the morning light as nothing more than subconscious nonsense. "How long?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "I don't know," Alex admitted, finally stepping forward, crossing the threshold into my apartment but stopping just inside. The door still open behind, rain visible in the hallway beyond. Maybe always. Maybe since that day in the bookstore. Or maybe it grew so slowly I didn't notice until it was too big to ignore. Does it matter? Did it matter? I wasn't sure. What mattered was that we were here, now, standing on opposite sides of a room that suddenly seemed both too large and too small, with words between us that couldn't be taken back, feelings exposed that couldn't be hidden again. It might not matter when it started, I said carefully, but it matters what we do now. Alex nodded, eyes never leaving mine, and I saw in them a mixture of hope and fear that mirrored my own emotions. And what do we do now? That was the question, wasn't it? What do you do when your straight best friend shows up at midnight, confessing feelings that could change everything? What do you do with the sudden realization that what you've wanted for years might actually be possible, but at the risk of the friendship that means more to you than anything? I thought about all the stories I'd read, all the movies I'd watched, where moments like this were turning points, where declarations of love led to happy endings. But life isn't a story, and people are more complicated than characters on a page. Alex wasn't just my potential love interest. Alex was my best friend, my confidant, the person who knew all my secrets and loved me anyway. And I wasn't just a protagonist waiting for romance. I was a real person with fears and doubts and a history of relationships that had ended badly. I don't know, I admitted, and the honesty felt both terrible and freeing. I don't know what we do now. I don't know what I feel, or what you feel, or what any of this means. I just know that I don't want to lose you. Not for anything. Alex closed the door finally, shutting out the sound of rain and the view of the empty hallway, committing to staying, at least for now. You won't lose me. Whatever happens, whatever we decide, you're stuck with me. That's non-negotiable. And for the first time since opening the door, I smiled, a real smile that came from somewhere deep inside me. Good, because I'm not letting you go either. We moved to the couch, sitting at opposite ends, a careful distance between us that felt both necessary and painful. The pause documentary still showed the anglerfish on the screen, its bioluminescent lure glowing in the darkness of the deep ocean. It seemed fitting somehow, light in darkness, attraction, the risk of getting too close to something dangerous yet beautiful. So, Alex said after a moment of silence, "What now? Do we pretend this never happened? Do we try to date? Do we take some time apart to figure things out?" All options had their appeal and their drawbacks. Pretending would be easiest in the short term, but would only delay the inevitable conversation. Dating could be wonderful or disastrous, with no middle ground. Taking time apart might provide clarity, but would also mean suffering through days or weeks without the person I relied on most. I think, I said slowly, that we need to be honest with each other. Completely honest, even if it's scary, even if we're not sure. Because whatever happens next, it should be based on truth, not assumptions or fears or what we think the other person wants to hear. Alex nodded. "I'm serious." "Okay, complete honesty. I can do that." "Me first," I said, gathering my courage. "I've had feelings for you for a long time. Feelings I didn't let myself acknowledge because I thought you were straight, and I didn't want to ruin our friendship, and I was afraid of being that person who falls for their straight friend and makes everything weird." The admission hung in the air between us, and I watched Alex's face carefully, looking for signs of surprise or discomfort. But all I saw was relief and something like wonder. "I think I've had feelings for you too," Alex said quietly, "but I didn't know what they were. I've never felt this way about anyone else, regardless of gender. It's not about you being a man or a woman or anything else. It's just you. It's always been you." The words were everything I'd ever wanted to hear and everything I'd feared. Because what if we tried this and failed? What if the reality couldn't live up to the fantasy? What if we weren't as compatible romantically as we were as friends? "I'm scared," I admitted. "I'm scared of losing what we have. I'm scared that if we try to be more than friends and it doesn't work out, we won't be able to go back to how things were." Alex reached across the couch, not touching me, but offering a hand, palm up, an invitation. "I'm scared too, but I'm more scared of never knowing what could have been. Of looking back years from now and wondering what would have happened if I'd been brave enough to knock on your door at midnight and tell you how I feel." I looked at that outstretched hand, at the familiar calluses from guitar playing, at the small scar across the thumb from a cooking accident in our shared apartment years ago. I knew this hand as well as I knew my own. Had high-fived it in celebration, had squeezed it in comfort, had watched it gesture animatedly during stories, had seen it gentle with children and pets and delicate objects. But I had never held it as a lover would. Slowly, giving myself time to change my mind, I reached out and placed my hand in Alex's. Our fingers intertwined, a perfect fit, as if they'd been designed for each other. The simple touch sent electricity up my arm, a current of possibility and promise. "I don't know what this means," Alex said softly. "I don't know what label fits, or if I need a label at all. I just know that when I'm with you, I feel more like myself than I do with anyone else. And I know that when I think about my future, you're always in it, in some way." I nodded, understanding completely. Labels are overrated anyway. People are too complex, feelings too nuanced. What matters is what we feel, not what we call it. We sat there for a long time, hands linked, neither speaking, both lost in thought. The rain continued outside, a soothing backdrop to the most important conversation of our lives. The anglerfish remained frozen on the screen, its light a silent witness. "So what happens now?" Alex finally asked, echoing the earlier question, but with less fear this time, more curiosity. I considered the question carefully. "Now, I think we take it slow. We don't rush into anything. We talk, a lot, about what we want and what we're comfortable with. We figure it out together, day by day." "I'd like that," Alex said, squeezing my hand gently. "Day by day sounds perfect." And so we talked, for hours, until the rain stopped and the first light of dawn began to filter through my curtains. We talked about our fears and hopes, about the moments over the years when we'd each felt something more than friendship, but had pushed it away. We talked about practical concerns, how our friends would react, what this meant for Alex's understanding of sexuality, how we would navigate physical intimacy at a pace that felt right for both of us. As the sun rose, painting my apartment in soft gold light, Alex finally moved from the other end of the couch to sit beside me, our shoulders touching just as they had countless times before in movie theaters and coffee shops and on park benches. But this time, the touch held new meaning, new possibility. "Can I stay?" Alex asked, voice rough with exhaustion, but eyes clear and certain. "Not for anything, just to be here. With you. I'm not ready to leave yet." I nodded, too full of emotion to speak. We stretched out on the couch, Alex's head on my shoulder, my arm around those familiar shoulders, our bodies fitting together as if they'd been designed that way. It wasn't sexual, wasn't even romantic in the traditional sense. It was something else, something both newer and older than romance, a recognition, perhaps, of something that had always been there, waiting for us to be ready to see it. As Alex drifted to sleep beside me, breath evening out into the rhythm I'd heard so many times during movie marathons and road trips, I thought about thresholds again. About how Alex had stood in my doorway, afraid to enter, afraid of what crossing that boundary might mean. And I thought about how some thresholds, once crossed, lead to places you can never leave, not because you're trapped, but because you've finally found where you belong. I don't know what the future holds for us. I don't know if what we have will last a lifetime or burn bright and brief. I don't know if Alex will eventually settle on a label or forever exist in the beautiful ambiguity of simply loving a person rather than a gender. I don't know if our friends will understand or if we'll face challenges we haven't even considered yet. But I know this. That midnight knock changed everything and nothing. Changed everything because it opened a door to possibilities I'd never allowed myself to hope for. Changed nothing because at our core, we're still the same people, still best friends, still each other's constants in an inconstant world. The love was always there. We've just given ourselves permission to call it by its name, to let it grow in new directions, to see where it might lead us. As I finally drifted toward sleep myself, the weight of Alex against me both familiar and thrillingly new. I remembered something my grandmother once told me about love. She said true love isn't about finding the perfect person. It's about seeing the imperfect person perfectly. And in that moment, with morning light streaming through my window and my best friend asleep in my arms, I understood exactly what she meant. Sometimes the person you're looking for has been standing right in your doorway all along. You just have to be brave enough to invite them in, and they have to be brave enough to step across the threshold. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, you both find your courage at exactly the same moment, perhaps at midnight, when the world is quiet and the truth can finally be heard. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but I know that whatever comes, we'll face it together, as we always have. And maybe that's all anyone can ask for. Not certainty, not perfection, but the promise of companionship on the journey, whatever path it takes. As sleep finally claimed me, I had one last thought. Some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. And sometimes, that's the greatest blessing of all. Total _char_count, 17,632.